Hi, this is David NG, and today we're going to look through the idea of why limit is important and why do we use it. So in the last video, I introduced the idea of limit today, but before we even start, we're going to start looking at how to read a limit notation. So how do mathematicians or how do students usually write limit? So they usually write it in the form of limit x approaches a f of x equals to L. So what exactly does this mean? So what does it exactly does this say? So this says that the limit of f of x as x approaches a equals to L. It means that as x approaches a, then the function values get very close or equal to L. So in my last video you could see an example of this, which is like we have 2x plus 3, and at the point 4, as we approach it from both sides, which is in this case the a will be 4. As the x approaches the a from both sides, the y values get closer and closer to 11, but never reach on the point of 11. So then now let's get back to the important question of why limit is important. Remember why I said about why this is important? Because it's never at x approaches a. The meaning of approaches is exactly means that it never gets on the point A, but it keeps on infinitely approaching A, but never get on the point A. So sometimes it's useful because it doesn't violate some of the mathematical rules. So we can look at another example of how this is useful. So if we have the function sine x over x. Now let me ask you a basic question. Can the bottom be 0? What is the y values when x is at 0? Well, any pre-calculus students will tell me that it's undefined. Yeah, that's true. Let's see. I think it's about something like this. This is, yeah, and at point 0, it's gonna be undefined. Why? Because if we substitute x and then we substitute 0 as the bottom, then you can't divide anything by 0, or it will just be undefined. But this is when the two of limit come in handy. So remember what I said? It approaches x at that approaches y values, but never get on the y values. So in this case, if we can write equation as limit as x approaches 0, approaches 0 from this side and from this side, but never on 0. Because if it's on 0, then it violates mathematical rule because it will be undefined. But if it approaches 0, it will make sense. So we can write it as limit of x approaches 0 from both sides, and the f of x, which is the y value, approaches 1. So we can basically write the equation as limit of x approaches 0, f of x is equal to 1. Because as limit approaches 0 from, you see, this side and this side, the value is going to approach 1. And as the x get infinitely close to 0, the y value gets infinitely close to 1. And when it gets infinitely close to 1, we can conclude that it is equal to 1. And this is one of the examples why limit is important, because it helps us in some cases not violate some of the mathematical rule, and then we can play around with it, right? So this is why limit is important. So in my next video, I'll go through some examples of more of limit problems. If you like this video, please like and subscribe.